The Last of Us Season 2 was the biggest mess of a video game adaptation I have ever seen, and that says a lot. Yes, it is the biggest mess for a TV series. Obviously, I've not seen Borderlands, the movie that they made, so I've heard that's pretty awful, but The Last of Us Season 2 is a poor attempt at an adaptation, and that is just the biggest shame. I remember watching Season 1 and enjoying Season 1. I've just gone back to watch Season 1 to see if I could see the same problems that I have with this season, and honestly, I don't. So I'm coming off this as a quite of a poor negative review for it because I've not got much good to say about it. And fair enough, I'm going to come across this review as a film and TV, like not a critic, but just someone who likes to watch movies and TV shows. Have I played The Last of Us Part 2? No, I haven't. I haven't got a PlayStation. But I am familiar with the story. I have friends who have actually played the game and like educated me on the knowledge of what's meant to go here and what's meant to go there, and I'm just sat there like, why have they done decisions like this? It's really a mess, and yeah, I just don't know how to feel about it. And one of the biggest criticisms I've got for the show is that Ellie's not really Ellie. I don't see Bellaramsey as Ellie in this season, which is why I went back to Season 1 to see if it was the same feeling. No, she plays Ellie really well in Season 1, but that's because she's meant to be a kid. This season, she's just doesn't feel like she's aged up, and she doesn't mature. She doesn't feel like she's an angry character on a revenge story for Joel's death like she's in the games. And it was a lot of the poor choices with the script, and it was just inexperience with Bellaramsey's acting, I suppose. But they just did so much poor decisions. It's like, fair enough. Episode 1, the New Year's Eve party. Great, fair enough. Episode 2, Joel's death. Fair enough. But then you get this like Seattle, like it drags a lot, and then along that drag, a lot of scenes are rushed. Like feel like we've just crammed everything in. And I get because it's a TV show, you can do stuff like that, but Season 1 has more episodes than Season 2. And you could have just done the same episode lengths and episode times and took your time with Part 2 as much as you can. I know Season 3 is going to be mainly Abby's story, so fair enough. But the only episodes I enjoyed was the ones that Pedropascal was in, which was the flashback episode and episode 1 and 2. Dina was great. She is great. But it was poor choices that made her feel like she was more angry that Joel died than Ellie did, and it doesn't meant to feel that way. And I can't say much because I've not played the game to understand how angry most fans will be. But as someone who watches films and TV, it was a really poor adaptation from what I know and what knowledge I have of The Last of Us Part 2. And I know it's a longer game and the story's like Ellie and Abby, and that's why they're doing Season 3 with Abby, but it feels like the poor choices of like when Ellie finds out Dina's pregnant, like all that was just wrong. Just wrong, and it was not like it is in the game, which is when she thinks Dina's going to be a liability. We got the fucking stupid line of, "Oh shit, I'm going to be a dad." Like, who wrote this? Who wrote these poor choices of dialogue for a character that's meant to lead the show forward? That's what really confuses me. We all knew that Bella Ramsey would have to take on the leading role for this series because Joel dies, and they've given her this piss poor dialogue between characters, and when she's meant to be angry, she doesn't sound angry and she doesn't sound upset. She's like a robot, and it's nothing against Bella Ramsey. I'm sure she's just trying to do the lines that she's given for the script that she was received, and I just don't understand why some writers have wrote characters in a certain way. Yes, like the flashback scenes were great. The scars were interesting. I recently learnt about what the scars are through a friend who's played all the Last of Us games. So like I said, I'm still uneducated in what I'm watching, but I know enough to realise that some of it doesn't feel like the game at all. I know it's an adaptation. I know you shouldn't do it copy by copy. Maybe there's some changes, but what in right mind would you change a liability to "I'm going to be a dad" and being all super cushy about it when she's meant to be on an angry rage? Even with her torture scene with the hospital when she's trying to find Abby, that was very poorly done. When she kills Owen and the other girl that's pregnant, I can't remember her name, and she doesn't have it. She doesn't have the anger. There's a scene between her and Dina which, like I said, sounds like Dina's more pissed off than Ellie is that Joel's dead. She's like, "Oh, what did Dina say? I don't care what Joel did, but he did not deserve to die." Like, that sounds more like Ellie in that dialogue than Dina, because Dina doesn't really want that, as far as I've heard from the games. And it's just a mess. It feels messy, and they need to do some improvements somewhere. And Ellie is not Ellie in this show, unfortunately, which was one of the main questions we all had at the end of season 1. Can Bella Ramsey do it on her own? And unfortunately, she couldn't. And the consequence we got from that is Dina being more supportive, and we've got Jesse's dialogue with Ellie before he dies. And the only great thing about most of this season is pedropascal's acting. The actress who plays Abby is perfect. She is fine. There's nothing wrong with Abby in this season. She plays Abby really well. And Dina's great. And it was just bits that were cool to have, but it didn't sell it in the end. And ending it off in sort of a cliffhanger way was a bit of a bullshit thing in general. Like, we all know what's going to happen between Ellie and Abby. I know it's for like people who haven't played the games and watched the TV show, so they might be on edge. Oh, that cliffhanger was good. What's going to happen next in season 3? But people who've played the games already know what's going to happen. That was just a pointless thing to add. And Ellie doing her best Punisher impression didn't work out for it either. Like, she's meant to be more furious, and she's not there. She's not Ellie, unfortunately. But like I said, there's some production. Like, production design, the destroyed Seattle, perfect. Jackson looks great. The horde with the clickers getting into Jackson, that was great. There's good stuff that happens, but a lot of it feels rushed with poor acting, and it feels like both The Last of Us Season 1 and The Last of Us Season 2 was written by a complete mess of inexperienced writers. Because I've gone back to watch Season 1, and Season 1's fine. So I don't know what they've done with Season 2, but they need to make some improvements for Season 3. At least around that time, Bellaramsey will be a bit more older, so maybe she can play Ellie with a bit of more fierce to her, a bit more acting towards her, I guess. But other than that, let me know what you thought of The Last of Us Part 2. I'm sorry I went really spoilery with stuff that happened, but it feels like a mess. It is a mess, and it needs some improvements if they're doing a Season 3. I know Season 3 is mainly going to be Abby's side of Seattle, but like I said, Abby, the actress of Abby, plays her well. And yeah, so we'll probably get a better season next season from that. So yeah, let me know what you thought about it. And no, I don't have anything to display for the Last of Us stuff apart from 2 minifigures from Joel and Ellie from Season 1 that were made by Firestar Toys. I just bought the hair pieces for them, but you can barely see them. I don't want to put too much on display because I didn't enjoy it. So yeah, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you later, and bye bye.